Okay, before we open the meeting up, I want to introduce, I know him as Mr. T, although he lost his mohawk a while back. Mr. Timinia, Chris Timinia, who is the director of the band and music program in Highland High School. These individuals here, I can tell you, work hard day in and day out to perform what they do. And I followed them. Obviously, my son is in this, and I follow them throughout the years. And I can tell you, when he came to me and said, "Dad, I'm going to join the band," I looked at him and went, "Okay, and what's that mean?" And he says, "Well, I'm going to band camp." And I'm thinking, band camp? What the heck is band camp? Well, I can tell you, I watched them, and they worked 10 times harder than I ever would have worked as an athlete. And so that, I am proud of each and every one of these individuals. And I guarantee you, if you look at each one of these kids, they're probably in the top of their class, every one of them. And that is just telling you something about Mr. T and what he performs and how he does it. It tells you about Highland. It tells you about the Black Horse Pike Regional School District. And it tells you about the arts and why they're important. I always took it for granted from the people that played in the band when I was in high school. But I can tell you, they work hard, they give it their all, and they perform fantastic. So I asked Mr. T if he'd take a few moments to perform for us, and I have a pleasure of watching this all the time. And I just think sit back and you're in for a treat for some of these individuals that are doing such great work. Mr. T, you're on.
Town Council, everybody, for having us tonight. That arrangement was called Alfie, and featured one of our piano players over there, Mallory Wynn. And we're just going to play one more for you here tonight. This is the Chick Corea Classic Spain. It's going to feature tonight. We're going to have Sierra Jorgensen on the piano, Dylan Bader on the drum set, Cal Harrison on the bass guitar once it gets it set up. It's also going to feature our flautist, Katie Jorgensen, and Keith Bianchini on trombone. So this is Spain. Yeah. Stand up for
What a great job. Let's give him another round of applause. What a great job. Now, the Highland Jazz Band has won a championship, the Atlantic Coast Conference championship, and I think Mr. T can give you all the particulars, but they went down in Wildwood and they won a championship by all this hard work and this talent that you see in front of you. It's just amazing, and I asked Mr. T if we can get him in front of council to honor them for what they represent. They represent all of us. They represent Gloucester Township, the Black Horse Pike Regional School District, each and every one of us. With me down here is Councilwoman Trotto, and she is going to join me in offering these recognition certificates to each band member, and I asked Mr. T if you want to say a few words and give us a little bit of the background here.
Well, thank you. There's not much to say other than we were able to have a very, very exciting and fun year where you stated we won the Atlantic Coast Championship in the Tournament Indoor Association. It's our first championship for the jazz ensemble in our school history for Highland, and we just had one heck of a fun time this year, just playing good old music, and wherever we go, we're always the underdogs. We're not the richest school. We don't have, some of the resources that a lot of the other schools do that we compete against. But we do it the old-fashioned way with smiles and hard work, and we're proud to represent the community and Blackwood and Gloucester Township as champions this year. That's right. We were also honored to qualify for the New Jersey State Championship, which is kind of a separate thing where we go up against private schools and all these really elite programs that have been established across the state. And we were able to qualify for the state championship for the 7th time in, 45 years of Highlands history. And we were happy to represent as the only school in the Black Horse Pike Regional School District to represent the school district in the state championship for jazz band. Dylan Bader step forward. Keith Bianchini. Zachary Clarkson. Alyssa Cruz. Erica Evans. Krista Goodhart. Chanel Hamlet. Martel Harrison. Mikhail Harrison. Mark Jaquay. Katie Jorgensen. Courtney Jorgensen. Sierra Jorgensen. Eric Krebel. Sarah Lansall. Connie Mangino. J.C. Nickdow. Nam Fang. Brianna Squilla could not be here tonight. She's prom prepping. Ray Vasallo. Alexander Velasquez. Taylor Watkins. Mallory Wynn. Marty Wynn. And myself.
Mr. T, thank you. Thank you for all the hard work you give to the kids. And I think this shows you why we should support the arts in all our high schools, and it's important that we bring it also down into the middle school, because until I saw this and understood it, it means a lot to these kids, and every one of these kids are just fantastic people. And then we should be proud of each and every one of them as young folks in our township. So congratulations, thank you. Now, Mr. T, you know Keith is going to Rowan for music education because of you. And so I made him a promise, and Martel, you got to hear this. You know, when I was a kid, I always wanted to learn how to play the saxophone.
Okay.
Well, I was one of 9, so we couldn't afford a saxophone. Okay. That's his job. He goes through school. He's got to teach me the saxophone. What do you think?
He'll be able to do it in a year.
I don't know if he may be able to do it, but I know I'm not talented enough to do it. So thank you, Highland, and good luck. Thank you. Yeah, we'll take a 10-minute break.
No, I'm sorry. I was trying to figure out what you were doing. It does sound like
Thank you so much for having us.
Call the meeting to order. All rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. This regular meeting of the Township Council is being held in accordance with scheduled meetings of the Township Council established and adopted by the Township Council to schedule designated time, date, and place of this meeting. Adequate public notice of the meeting has been provided pursuant to the provisions of the Open Public Meetings Act. Where I use an electronic amplifying recording device in order to obtain audible and clear record, we request all those wishing to speak be recognized, state your name and address directly into the microphone. Recording device be solely utilized by the Township Clerk's Office shall be the official record of Township Council meetings. Roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Present.
Mr. Schmidt? Mr. Seiler?
Here.
Mrs. Strato? Here. Mrs. Winters? Here. Mr. Mercado?
Present.
Mr. Bianchini?
Present.
Mayor Mayor?
Mayor is at Triton High School at the Academic Awards dinner.
Mr. Malfa? Mr. Lechner?
Here.
Chief Earl?
Here.
Mr. Carlemere?
Here.
Mr. Cantwell?
Here.
Mr. Cardis?
Here.
We have a presentation to the police officers who participate in the Unity Tour during National Police Week. Chief? It is my honor to honor 3 officers from the Gloucester Township Police Department who participated in the Police Unity Tour. I'd like to call up at this moment Jason Fisher, Paul Fisher, and Eric Marconi. These fine officers traveled 92 miles from Millville to Washington, D.C., and they raised $5,100 for the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund. What a tremendous thing that you guys all did in representing Gloucester Township and Gloucester Township Police Department in this worthy cause for the National Law Enforcement Officers Memorial Fund. 92 miles on a bike is pretty far. 2 miles for me on a bike is pretty far, but I congratulate you. I think there was 3,000 officers nationwide who participated. Chief, do you want to add anything to that?
Just certainly that all the men and women of the Gloucester Township are very proud, and I, of course, want to thank the Council President and Council for taking the time to recognize these 3 officers who was the first officers to participate in the Unity Tour in the history of the Gloucester Township Police Department. So I thank them for bringing the attention to the Gloucester Township Police Department, and more importantly, the recognition that they deserve and that all law enforcement officers deserve for the National Police Week, when 320 names were inscribed at the memorial at their arrival when they arrived in Washington, D.C., of officers that have lost their lives. So bringing that attention to the sacrifices of law enforcement and that recognition here in Gloucester Township, and a great job to them. Thank you. It's honoring Officer Paul Fisher for participating in the Unity Tour during National Police Week, May 12th to May 18th. Congratulations, Paul. Presented to Officer Eric Marconi for participating in the Unity Tour during National Police Week, May 12th to May 18th. And to Officer Jason Fisher for participating in the Unity Tour during National Police Week, May 12th to May 18th. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Chief. And, you know, I think we take for granted the day in and day out job of our police department here in Gloucester Township. Every day they're out there protecting us and finding a lot of obstacles in doing it. And, you know, every time, I always tell the Chief, every time I hear that siren, I worry, because I worry about what harm they're going into, whether it's our police department, our ambulance, or our firefighters. Each and every day, they put their lives on the line to keep us safe. And I can tell you, I still think we have the best police department in the state and probably in the nation. And we have the best leadership, Chief, and yourself and your staff. So I want to thank you on behalf of council and the mayor. Thank you for all that you do. Now have the first public portion. Any person want to talk about any agenda items only, please raise your hand, come to the mic. Seeing no hands, we close the first public portion. Proclamation.
Whereas there were 591 motor vehicle fatalities in New Jersey in 2012, and whereas a large percentage of the motor vehicle occupants killed in traffic crashes were not wearing a seatbelt, and whereas use of a seatbelt remains the most effective way to avoid death or serious injury in a motor vehicle crash, and whereas the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration estimates that 135,000 lives were saved by safety belt usage nationally between 1975 and 2000, and whereas the state of New Jersey will participate in the nationwide Click It or Ticket seatbelt mobilization from May 20th to June 2nd, 2013, in an effort to raise awareness and increase seatbelt usage through a combination of enforcement and education. And whereas the Division of Highway Safety has set a goal of increasing the seatbelt usage rate in the state from the current level of 88.29% to 90%. And whereas a further increase in seatbelt usage in New Jersey will save lives on our roadways, therefore be it resolved that the Township of Gloucester declares its support for the Click It or Ticket seatbelt mobilization, both locally and nationally, from May 20th to June 2nd, 2013, and pledges to increase awareness of the mobilization and the benefits of seatbelt use.
Proposal for Sanders Day Drive drainage.
I interject, requesting that you authorize us to, I might have to say, there was a proposal from the contractor for the installation of Sanders Day Drive drainage based on the quotes that were received, and that needs to be approved. I believe that's further down, but I'm also asking for authorization for Remington and Burdick to do the inspection services. You have a May 22nd letter in there, done by Stroll Ball.
Okay, well, first to accept, do I have a motion to accept the proposals for San Jose Drive drainage?
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes. RFP report?
Purchase of block 12301, lot 4.01, and development of up to 75 units of senior managed affordable rental housing.
Motion to accept the RFP report?
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes. RFQ report?
Insurance broker services for a general liability property casualty.
Tom, you want to explain this to the,
Yeah, according to state statute and state procurement, we are permitted to go out for an RFQ for a broker record for, in this case, property casualty general liability insurance. In this instance, I've reviewed the RFQs that were submitted along with David Qualmier and Christy Aaron, our CFO. There was only one proposal that was submitted, and that was for a continuation of Connor Strong Buffalo as a broker record. The appointment is recommended for a 3-year appointment, which is permissible by state statute.
you're satisfied that Connor Strong Buffalo can continue the service that we have?
I am, and again, I reviewed that with Mr. Qualmier and Mrs. Aaron.
Motion to accept the RFQ report? On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes. Bid report?
Do you want me to do all three? Are you going to accept all three?
You want to add to that the San Jose?
Right after this video.
Yeah, is that fine?
Yeah.
Stormwater outflow repairs at Madison Avenue, 2013 road improvement program, Thorny Lane erosion protection.
Motion to accept the bid reports, all three of them?
Second.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes. We need a strong vote to allow Remington and Burdick to do the inspection service for the drainage improvement behind 936 San Jose Drive.
That proposal is on the May 22nd, 2013 letter from Remington.
Any questions from council on this proposal, or on this proposal for inspection?
Council President, fees are not to exceed $1,340 on this.
Yes. Can we have a straw vote there?
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes. Mr. Cormier, could you explain why we do a straw vote on that?
The statute in New Jersey, once the governing body goes through the process of appointing a township engineer, as in this case for these type of projects, at the reorganization meetings, the township appointed appropriately in response to requests for proposals, the firm of Remington and Burdick. Once that is done, the statute allows any project that is consistent with their proposal and the intent of the proposal can be awarded without additional resolutions, so long as they are approved by the governing body. And that's why we do a straw vote.
Thank you. We now have the resolutions of consent agenda. Any council person wishing to remove any of these resolutions, please let me know now. We'll have a motion to accept the consent agenda.
So moved.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes.
162, resolution authorizing execution of agreement between the Township of Gloucester and Lexa Concrete LLC.
This resolution allows for the execution of agreement between the township and Lexa Concrete. Motion to adopt.
So moved.
Second?
On the question, roll call.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes.
163, resolution authorizing execution of agreement between the Township of Gloucester and Perna Construction LLC.
This resolution authorizes the execution agreement between the Township of Gloucester and Perna Construction for the repairs at Thorny Lane erosion protection. Motion to adopt.
So moved.
On the question, roll call, please.
Mr. Hutchison?
Yes.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes.
Mrs. Strato?
Yes.
Mrs. Winters?
Yes.
Mr. Mercado?
Yes.
Mr. Bianchini?
Yes. The mayor, as I stated earlier, is at the Trenton High School awards, academic awards dinner, and so we have no mayor's report. We have no GTE Gov access questions, so I'll open up to the public for any questions on any issue. Yes, Pete?
Pete Heinball, Morningstar Court. I spent some of my spare time the last couple of weeks looking through the newly approved audited financial statement. It was approved at the last meeting, so it shows you what I do with some of my spare time, but anyway. So I had a couple of questions from that. I had a lot of questions, but I'll just ask a couple today. The biggest one that jumped out, we have, for a few years now, we've had this unfunded liability relating to future retiree health benefits. That for a few years in a row has been in the mid-$90 million range. All of a sudden on the 2012 audit financial statement, that number jumped all the way up to $195 million. What events changed in the last calendar year?
I don't know what the change would have been. As you're probably already aware, it's mandated New Jersey law that we report the unfunded liability. It's just that, it's an unfunded liability. There's no way that Gloucester Township or any other municipality for that matter, save for maybe a few very small municipalities, very little employees and probably no lifetime benefits would be able to fund such a mandate. I don't know what would have triggered a change in that value. I can check that out.
Yeah. Did you see that number? Did you notice that number though in the?
I don't have an audit with me right now, so I couldn't tell you.
Okay, it had been mid-90s million for as far back as I looked in statements, the last 3 or 4 years. And all of a sudden this year it was 195 million, just not one year ago.
That's the liability in which all our retirees and
If everybody were to leave employment as of 12/30/12,
Right.
what's your responsibility?
right.
It's cumulative, so it goes, it's a number that's not just as of that day, it's going forward.
That's an accounting principle utilized everywhere, not just.
No, yeah, every town, every government
Every
entity in New Jersey.
Right,
Yeah.
and any business, like the hospital that I work for, would have an.
I don't know how it applies, but in terms of government entities, it's obviously.
Right.
Well, private business can choose to fund it. I mean, they'd be
Well, they
smart.
would have to
Yeah.
fund it if people all left at once, but I think that's what they just need that number on the book, so that if that would happen, which I don't know if it's ever happened, that's what it would cost.
It's a little more than that. It's an actuarial calculation. They assume normal retirement dates, normal life expectancies, and normal health costs. It's not just a snap if everything bad happened at once. It's an actuarially.
Yeah, curious question I would have is, does the state budget audit show the same number? for the
Yes, they
state?
do.
Okay.
All in the county,
Sometimes things don't
Runnymede,
apply.
borough, and everything. Every entity,
How
government
about the
entity.
state of New Jersey itself? What's their unfunded liability?
Yeah,
Theirs
yeah.
has to be
Yeah.
phenomenal.
Yeah. I know Camden County is like 300 million or 500
Right.
million or something like that, yeah.
I just, now you're saying, I'm just wondering if the state is held to the same standard. If they have to,
Yeah, that's,
I don't know.
I do have that number. Camden County's same number is 800 million, so it's a big number all through the state. And something, I mean, that's a good, as a New Jersey taxpayer, these are obligations that are based on what happened now. What employees that we're paying now, they'll have to be paid by somebody in the future. So that's worse than a bond. Bond, at least we're getting some future benefit. This, when the bill comes due in 20 years, or over the course of the next 30 years, we'll be paying for it without any corresponding benefit.
Safe, we're stripping them of all their benefits.
No, I mean,
I don't know, wait,
it should be funded. I mean, as a,
It's not,
it's,
how it's funded, you have to,
Just
have to
put away
borrow
a little
against it.
bit.
I don't think it's permissible. to
well,
do that.
cut, I mean, my counter to that was we have to cut something else, like a wall at a park or something like that. I mean, it's,
They went in quick. The
well,
number's so huge that it's
but
not.
then when we say we're all heading toward doom and bankruptcy, that's
That's why I posed the same question you got the state of New Jersey. What's their unfunded?
a gloomy statement. But anyway, question number 2 on the audit financial statement. And this is more general. I see we have 61 million outstanding in debt obligations, and that's well under our 3.5% maximum limit, 3.5% of assessed property value limit that we have.
Well, I think that the 3.5 would be about 138 million.
Even a little more than that, even 150-ish. But my question is, we also have other public entities tapping into that same assessed value. 2 school districts, a county, fire districts. They each have debt instruments out there. Do they each have their own, this is a question, do they each have their own separate percentage max allowed?
I think some of their debt, and I'm referring to the schools because they're the biggest ones, I believe the school is exempt from that equation to a certain threshold, a certain dollar amount of debt, and then it's applicable. And I'm not sure what that formula is. I believe if you look at their numbers, I think it's 20 million for.
Each school district is roughly 20 million
21 million,
outstanding,
22 million.
yeah. Plus there's our share of the county, I mean, whatever our prorated value in the county is. I mean, what I'm saying is there's a lot of, into that same assessed value that we're allowed to calculate our 3.5, there's a lot of other government entities tapping into that same assessed value.
But it's not used for the 3.5.
Right, and
Right.
is that 3.5 meant to be,
Cumulative for everyone?
No.
is that the theory behind, I mean,
It's being, if you look at the annual debt statement, it's applied, that portion is not calculated as part of the 61 million, and therefore not part of the 3.5 tax.
so these other entities have their own maximum threshold that they
And
can't
I
go.
believe the amounts that you see right now for the regional, for the local are exempt from their calculation. They're outside.
That's what I'm getting at. If you add up all these entities and the maximum they're allowed, we're way over 3.5%, but that's allowed, I suppose. But we're saying the state's allowing, the calculation, all these different entities, the calculation's allowing, who knows, 10% before it even,
It's driven by formula.
yeah, and I'm saying it's too cumbersome on residents. There's too many different government entities tapping into that same assessed value tax base. By the time you add up everyone's debt, there's too much debt. That's kind of what I'm getting at. I wish we wouldn't incur debt. I wish we, even for projects that have future value. I know Joanne Carr has kind of made these kind of statements before. She says, why can't we avoid debt and just pay for things as we need them? And that's kind of what I'm saying. I'm saying between the schools and the counties and the townships and throw in DRPAs and anything else you want to throw in, there's way too much debt, and we should control, as a township, we should work on controlling minimizing what we can minimize.
The biggest one in the state. The have those numbers, but those numbers
that
are not really
and
high.
then they don't even fund their pension and things like that, so it's gloomy is what I'm saying, so we as a township should do what we can to at least minimize the future obligations on taxpayers in our
Like
township.
the state, we do fund our mandates for our PERS and police and firemen's retirement.
Yeah, they don't fund those.
They are.
One more question, and it's minor compared to the other ones. I do have others, but for tonight, just one more on the other financial statements. I saw back in 2009, townships were allowed, and Gloucester Township chose to accept that defer its pension obligation for that year and repay it over time in the future dates, just as a way to ease budget problems in 2009. You know,
Well, it's, when you use the word allow, because I was an integral part of dealing with the state on that, it wasn't so much allow. You could not apply for state aid, for additional state aid, unless you opted to do that, because they viewed that as you not doing everything to help yourself. So when we went before the local finance board, we were told under no uncertain terms that we either defer that pension like everybody else is doing, or we wouldn't get any state aid.
it's another future obligation. And when you
It was
add
paid over how many years?
I can tell you, I looked it up.
15, I think.
The repayment starts in 2012 and goes for 15 years, starting in 2012.
I agree with you. I didn't agree with doing that. We didn't want to do that.
A little question with that, though. So you would think we pay of that deferred amount, you pay 1/15 of that each of the next, starting in 2012, each of the next 15 years. But I see we repaid about 1/7 of that in 2012. Not that I disagree with that. I'm glad we're paying it off quicker than, but I just wondered how that repayment amount was derived.
That repayment would have been a requirement from the state.
That's all state. Okay, well, that's all for tonight then.
Thank you, Pete. Anyone else? Seeing no other hands, we close the second public portion. Only the directors and council, please.
Mr. Lechner?
I have nothing to report.
Chief Earl?
Nothing to report, thank you.
Mr. Carlemere?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Cantwell?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Cardis?
Nothing to report.
Mr. Hutchinson?
Just want to thank you, Pete, for your comments and your questions. And thank you all for coming this evening.
Mr. Seiler?
Yes, Monday, our local veteran organizations, they conducted an outstanding program. I'd like to thank the veterans, the police department, public works for the efforts that they put into this in order to give recognition to the veterans that have made the supreme sacrifice for this country. I think it was good to see so many people out Monday for the ceremony.
Mrs. Trotto?
Thank you, everyone, for coming out this evening, and congratulations to Highland Jazz Band. And I also had the chance to go throughout the township on Monday to the different memorial sites, and it really was very moving and very touching to be a part of it. And thank you, Sam, for your service. We greatly appreciate it. Oh, and just as a reminder, Relay for Life is coming up next week, so I'd like to invite you all to come out and be a part of it. It's June 8th to June 9th. It's a 24-hour walk right here at Veterans Park, and this will be our 4th year. And the last 3 years, Gloucester Township raised over $202,000 for the American Cancer Society. So if you have a little time that Saturday, please come out and take a look at what great things we're doing in Gloucester Township with all of the community coming together.
Mrs. Winters?
Thank you for coming out. Congratulate Highland. It was enjoyable to hear them play. I was also there on Monday for the ceremony and the different services, and it was very enlightening. And I'll be at Relay next weekend. Thanks.
Mr. Mercado?
Congratulations to Highland Jazz on the awards, and thank you for coming out this evening. And don't forget, this Saturday is Gloucester Township Day. All proceeds that are raised by the Gloucester Township Scholarship Committee goes towards providing scholarships to our high school seniors to attend four-year colleges or two-year colleges. Thank you.
Mr. Bianchini.
Yeah, I'd like to thank everyone for attending tonight's meeting. I also attended the ceremony on Memorial Day, and I want to thank some of the people behind the scenes, the police department, the Public Works for setting it up and doing a great job with it. And Sam, thank you for serving our country as you have done and continue to do. Thank you and congratulations to Highland Jazz Band. As you can see, this township has a lot of talented young individuals, and it's always good to see them perform and do what they do best. So I thank all those folks as well. I also want just to mention that Mr. Schmidt could not be here tonight because he was with his son at a playoff game, Little League game. So Mr. Schmidt is with his family. So just put that on the record, please. With that, I wish everyone a good night and ask for a motion to adjourn. All those in favor? Those opposed?